Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us here. I am delighted to be given the opportunity to interview Theo Paphitis, retail legend, TV dragon, owner of a number of high street brands, including one of my favourites, Robert Dyas. I go there often. Theo is also the creator of Small Business Sunday, which is a subject very close to his heart. And there are a number of his brands here at Spring Fair today, or over the next few days, in fact. And we're here to have a chat about all of those things. But in particular, Theo, small business, big impact. That's what we want to talk about today. How people can thrive in this world of challenge that we have. We literally started talking about it before we came on, the challenges that retailers and brands are facing. How would you summarize the climate right now? And what are the big challenges you're seeing?
Well, it's a tough climate. I think you'll agree, wouldn't you?
Yes.
I think the first thing we're going to deal with is confidence. And that's something that we need to put back into the economy and back into business. I mean, it's been a tough few years. I mean, we've even prior to the election, we had all the nonsense that went on with the infighting of government instead of running the country. And that was going on for many, many years. New government, and whether you like them or you don't like them, the reality is they're a new government and they've got to learn the business of governing, not the business of opposition.
Hmm.
And the thought that they would come in day one, get everything right, and do everything that we all want, quite frankly, was a bit over optimistic.
Not realistic.
No,
No.
but I think there's signs that they are learning.
Hmm.
Would I have done all the things that they did initially? No. Um, as anyone, and I think the government and certainly the Chancellor will agree with this, pleased with the fact that we've had those national insurance hikes, which I know you're all concerned about. But the reality was she needed to find the money. That was her, what she felt was the only way she could actually stabilize the economy.
Yeah.
And she's done it now. So now we've got to get that other thing that we all desperately need, especially the fact that we are a consumer society,
Yeah.
and that is growth.
Mm.
And we keep talking about growth, but we've got to do the things that actually create growth. Taxes, you can't tax your way into growth,
No.
right?
No.
So the first thing we need is confidence. And we're going to get that by the government now starting initiatives, being brave, doing things that helps the consumer, helps the economy, and we can start seeing those green shoots, which we all desperately need.
It feels quite negative though, even though we are getting those messages and the word growth comes up and up and up every media report I'm reading, but I don't know whether do you think it will take a while to filter through for people to believe that it's possible?
Yeah, I don't think you can start from zero and say, I want growth and you're going to get growth. I mean, we
Mm.
saw recently the announcement of a potential huge investment around Heathrow with a potential third runway and all the things that go around that. But with all due respect, it's unlikely to happen in my lifetime
No.
by the time that
Well,
will happen.
I shouldn't say no, it might.
Not yours. You'll be around for a lot longer.
Yeah.
So there's big initiatives like that that you've got to start, but they've got to be started somewhere.
Yes, of course.
What we need now is the short and medium term initiatives that we can actually see.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm hoping to see.
What about the retailers themselves and the brands and retailers here today? What can they do to build confidence into their businesses? Because you've been in this business for a while. You've been through ups and downs, recessions, boom times, COVID, all sorts of different things you've experienced. When you're looking at your business in a tough time, what are you saying to your teams? What's the mood you're trying to create? Do you need to be brave? Do you need to, I don't know, perhaps retrench a bit?
Well, I think the key is as a country, and this has been for, for as far as I can remember,
Mm.
we are one of the least productive countries in the G7.
Mm.
So clearly, there's a room for improvement.
Yeah.
Clearly, there's room for being more productive. And as we see technology and hear every single touch and hear every single part of our lives, we need to embrace this and we need to embrace those efficiencies. And with our team, It's very much as, well, there's no point doing the same things over and over and over again because the results will be the same.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they be? So we've got to start thinking, how do we do things differently? So if any of you are frustrated about your business, how things are going, where your business is going, what the future looks like, take a few minutes out and just stop and think about what you're doing. And is it the same things that you've always been doing? Is there a different way of doing things? Or can I be controversial and say, do you stop doing some of the things that you're doing?
Yeah.
And say, well, actually, they're nice to haves, but is it really going to give me the growth that I need? What are my main USPs? Ask yourself the most difficult question anybody can ask themselves in business. What is my reason for existing in this market? What is my reason for existing? My business reason for existing? Why should my business exist? That's the biggest question.
Yeah.
And what's my USP? What makes me different from other people? How can I execute things better? We all can see things around us and say, well, I could do better than that. Who sees that? Yeah?
All the
Well,
time.
all the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great place to start. How can you do it better? Why didn't you execute that? I mean, I've not really had an original idea in my life. I've always seen what other people are doing and thinking, I could do that better.
It,
I never thought about it beforehand, but I've seen someone else do it.
you've invested in a lot of entrepreneurial businesses, and they do always say, don't they, that they, well, I've heard this, you may disagree, but investors say they'll take execution over idea all the
All
time.
day long.
Yeah.
All day
That's
long.
it, yeah.
I mean, if you're looking for that eureka moment, please get out the bath because you're going to shrivel up
Yeah.
and the water's going to get really cold.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. Someone's already had that thought.
Yeah.
Look at all the other eureka moments other people have had and see, well, where's my place in this? How can I be part of this? How can I execute this?
Because sometimes there's a gap in the market for a good reason. That's another phrase I quite like. Because you think nobody's doing it, so I'll do it. But there might be a very good reason nobody's doing it. So that doesn't mean
Well,
you should.
there is. That's right. And,
Yeah.
and that's a well-trodden verse.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to be controversial
Go on.
and say, whilst there is a lot of element of truth in that statement,
Mm.
let me switch it round and say, especially today,
Yeah.
it's more appropriate today than ever before. As bigger businesses, bigger concerns decide to be more efficient, focus, and not do peripheral things because they can't make money out of them themselves because their overheads are too high.
Yeah.
There's a whole infrastructure to pay for.
Yeah.
Look at those peripherals. Is that something that you can do with your lower overheads, with your own time, without all the add-ons that you would have to have in a bigger company? It's like the old saying about, just let me have some crumbs off your table.
Yeah.
So a crumb of a huge table can be a big thing for small business. So just look around, just see what people have stopped doing. And there might be good reason why they've stopped doing it. Or it might be, do you know what? They just want to do something more efficient for their business and it doesn't work for them.
Yeah.
And that opens an opportunity.
I mean, it's a perfect example, isn't it, of what small businesses can do in this really crowded market to just think, there's an opportunity for me right now, because there is always opportunity, even in challenged markets. And it's such a good thought that maybe for a big retailer, that didn't work. Doesn't mean that's a bad idea. They're just not geared up to do it, but you could perhaps.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And even
Yeah.
some of my businesses that you would consider to be big, and all my businesses are just family businesses, the private businesses, but you might consider it to be big. But, some of the things that we do, other retailers can't do
Yeah.
because we consider ourselves to be a small business and we do it really well and we make money from it. I mean, you talked about our colleagues as staff in our stores earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, our colleagues are really important to us. Some of the initiatives that we have in Ryman, for instance, at the moment, lots of other businesses stopped doing. But that's great as far as I'm concerned, because we feel we can execute it and gear up our colleagues in our stores.
Because you certainly feel it when you go into those stores, because I do shop Ryman and Robert Dyas for various reasons, and you feel like you are going into a local store,
Well,
part of
exactly what we are.
Yeah.
We're part of the community. We're in the high streets.
Yeah.
Our colleagues come from the surrounding area.
Yeah.
They know their customers. Our length of service is ridiculously long compared to the industry.
Yeah.
But it does mean they know the product range. They know their customers, and they can give service. It's not a self-service environment.
No, it's interesting because until you said that, I would have thought of them as quite big businesses, but they behave like small ones, but they're just private, small businesses.
And we think about it.
Yeah.
We think of ourselves as a small family business.
Yeah. Can we just go to the other end of the spectrum now? Because I know there's another subject that's close to your heart. We will come back to the small business side, but thrown into the mix at the moment with all the various challenges we have are these huge global players like Temu, Shein, etc. What impact are they having on our market for businesses large and small, and how do you think we should respond to it?
I think Timu were here a bit earlier today. Did anybody sit in their chat?
I did not. No.
No. Okay, good. I heard they were here, and I'm disappointed that anyone from is anyone from Timu here today? Still here? No, they've
No.
gone off with their tail between their legs. I did because of, unfortunately I wasn't aware they were here till on the way. I would have actually made a point of coming earlier to actually talk to them. And first of all, I would like to congratulate Spring Fair for being brave enough to have the conversation and have them here, because and the fact that they turned up was amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
It's like going to the bear pit. I mean, you are exactly the people they're hurting. And believe you me, their thought on collateral damage doesn't exist. But they are operating absolutely legally. They're not doing anything illegal in the fact that they ship stuff from China to here. But there's a lot of problems. And whilst they're absolutely operating legally in sending product into the UK without paying VAT and import duties, which in itself gives them an unfair advantage on you guys and the rest of the high street. By not paying tax, by not employing many people in the UK, by just sucking up a big swathe of the UK consumer market and not making a contribution back, the only outcome can be that will destroy our internal retail business, because they're playing with an unfair advantage. They don't comply with regulations. The products they sell are not always the real McCoy. Thirdly, safety aspects. In fact, I quickly looked up something earlier, and I'm going to have to just bring out my phone.
Go on.
I think I can find it here. Let's find it. There it is. I know we don't now. We don't want now. I don't want now. Cancel. Where's that gone? Okay. So, interesting. An investigation by the Toy Industry of Europe, TIE, the acronym, found that 18 out of 19 toys bought from Temu did not meet standards and presented a significant risk to children.
That's a bit scary.
That is unbelievable. If any of us sold products, would be shut down by trading standards rather, overnight. The British Toy and Hobby Association discovered 11 well-known marketplaces, including Temu, are selling toys deemed unsafe, meaning they pose a risk to health or safety of children. An investigation conducted by CAS Industries found that 7 out of 7 randomly selected electrical products failed safety screening.
Mm.
Now, when you can be a cavalier like that and sell products into the UK market that doesn't comply, no regulations, no corporate governance in the UK, no ESG, no corporation tax, no VAT, no import duties, then not only do they pose a danger, but actually they pose the biggest danger they pose is the demise of our own high street and our own businesses. Now, it's now up to the government
I was going to
to
say,
legislate
that might be a nice job for Rachel, right?
to deal with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I do know for a fact that the government are looking at this. And we have another one, Shein, for instance, the main another one. I mean, they're becoming one of the biggest fashion retailers in the UK.
Yeah.
But they don't contribute to the UK economy. They don't contribute towards our doctors, our nurses, our fire brigade, our police, our social services. But they do take the money out. We don't know, we have no control of where these things are produced, how they're produced.
Yeah.
So this is something the government are looking at. And when I talked about earlier, need to legislate very, very quickly and deal with it. And I don't mind competition. You know, we got to live with it. Competition is actually good and we should be competition, but it should be on a level playing field to everybody else.
Yeah.
That's all. So don't mind Timu running their business from wherever, but they do need to pay their fair share. Because we started this conversation saying we've all had to contribute to the economy through national insurance rises and other taxes to pay for all the social services that have been underinvested for a long time in this country. But everybody has to pay their fair share.
Because in a way, it's not their fault, is it? Why wouldn't they do that? So,
Well, you're right.
but he's got to.
They're within the law.
Yeah, I think it's right, but
They're within the law
Yeah.
as far as the taxation point's concerned.
Yeah.
They are not within the law
yeah,
as far as the safety and the quality and intellectual rights of some of the other property.
there's some moral issues there.
It was not moral. That is
Yeah.
not legal.
Illegal.
That is law. So that's my rant over with.
Well, no, it was.
To summarize,
There you go.
we don't mind competition. People are going to pay their fair share. They've got to pay their taxes, the social responsibilities, and the regulatory issues that we all have to abide by. They do that, they're welcome.
That just seems perfectly fair and common sense, doesn't it, really? So let's hope that we get there and get there quickly.
Well, we'll need to get there quickly.
Yeah, like I say, now that we've had our taxes imposed to us, maybe that's something that the government can focus on next. Let's hope so. You've always been such and I think people appreciate that, staunch supporter of small business. Why particularly is that so important?
Because that's where I started. I was hustling. So I started hustling. It was just me, and then I managed to take on a school leaver from the job centre to help me. There was 2 of us, you know, and it was one desk sitting either side of a desk. You know, no mobile phones in those days. A big grey phone on the desk, one phone, and with one line, and that was it. You know, and it is every day hustling. And on a Sunday night, you know, we'd be with the kids and me and Miss P would put the kids to bed. She'd go and do what she needed to do. And that was it for me. I'd go into a quiet corner somewhere and plan for the next day. What was I going to do first thing Monday morning? How was I going to hit that ground running on hit the ground running on Monday morning?
Wow.
What was I going to do? Where was my next piece of business going to come from? What were my next prospects? How was I going to make contact with these people? Who owed me a phone call? Who did I owe phone calls to? Who I hadn't spoken to for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months? Fact that they weren't interested 3 months ago, maybe they're interested today.
Right.
You know, it was all those things. I'd been writing it all down in a book, and first thing Monday morning, bang, that's where I'd start. And so
Wow.
small businesses for me And that's how SBS started.
Yeah, I was going to
Small
say.
Business Sunday.
Yeah.
I remember this Twitter thing came out. You remember Twitter, now called X, owned by Mr. Musk. And very quickly I had about 50,000 followers. I thought, shit, if I had 50,000 followers when I was starting off in my business and I could market to those people on my phone, would that be brilliant? And I thought, well, why don't I share those followers with small businesses out there? So if they
Cool.
tweet me their business,
Yeah.
I'll retweet it. And they'll get 50,000 people looking at it. And quite honestly, if only 2 contact them or 1 contacts them, that's been a great thing.
It's so generous of you to do that. And I know it may not seem like a big deal, but that's quite a lot of your time. You were
Well, it
you had business.
but it started off in Mrs. P's kitchen. So it was just me and her going through my phone.
Really?
But then it sort of grew and grew and grew and grew. So it became a thing itself. And we couldn't retweet on a Sunday anymore. So people tweet me on a Sunday between 5 and 7:30. And we don't retweet back till Monday because it takes that long to go through all the tweets. So, it grew and then it became a thing and it became an event. It became a website. We have our annual event here in sunny Birmingham and we get some 1,000 businesses turning up. It's free for those winners. We don't charge anything. We're very lucky. We're mad because it's 15 years old this year. So, which is really amazing because it feels like yesterday. And, we've got some great sponsors now, NatWest, even Mr. Google gives us a bit of money back because they take money off the rest of them, don't they?
Yeah.
So we managed to get other businesses to make sure that everything is free. So when you win SBS, everything from then onwards is free. And it's a network. There's loads of help groups, local groups that help each other. So if you're having a tough time, somebody else is having a good time. And then you can share ideas, lift yourself up and go again.
It's fantastic. You've got a number of your winners here, haven't you, in this very show. So you have a pavilion.
So the lovely people at Spring Fair, that's the second mention they're getting today.
Thank you, Spring Fair.
As a quid pro quo for me being here and chatting with you guys, kindly make available a dozen small stands for our SBS winners. There's 4,000 of them and they've got to fight for it. And we make them fight for the right to come here. And all of them have never really exhibited an exhibition before because they think it's too expensive. They don't know when they can't take the gamble. They don't know what they're going to get. And that's the problem with small businesses. I mean, do you really gamble a few £1,000 when you're hustling for every penny and every pound's a prisoner? And what happens if I don't get anything? But this is a great opportunity for them to come here, show the products, and it's great seeing their faces. I say, have you made any contacts? Oh yes, not only have I made contacts, but I've actually got some orders as well. And it's been great. And they've got all this list now of all these cards of buyers from all these industries that they can now this week hit with a phone call, an email, and hopefully get more orders.
Like you say, and it's a good advice for everybody here. What you just said there, and it resonated with me in my own business, is maybe it's not right now, but 3 months' time it might be right, 6 months' time, and you just have to keep knocking on the door every now and then, letting them know you're there.
Persistence is a great thing in business.
Yeah.
Be persistent. Doesn't matter if you're a pain in the arse. You just need a hit. Yeah. And, if you're persistent, you will get those hits, I promise you.
Yeah. What would you say to the buyers then as well? Because obviously we've got the brands here that are selling and there'll be people here who are buying for their retail stores. And I'm looking at this in the perspective of fashion because that's the industry I write about the most. And quite a number of high-profile multi-brands. You'll be following this. You have Boux Avenue, so you're in that space as well. But a number of high-profile multi-brand businesses have gone bust in fashion, or got swallowed up by Mike Ashley or somebody else. And they were quite nice businesses, but it struck me that they were all fairly similar. They weren't doing anything different. And I wondered whether the buyers of those businesses or the owners got a bit safe and just kept buying the same sorts of things all the time because that was safe. And I wonder whether
I
does that really
start criticizing the buyers. I mean, that's now shit from me.
No, I know. It's difficult, isn't it?
But is there any buyers here?
I'm sure there are. No. Yeah.
What I'm going to take you back to, Lauretta, is one of the early things I said, we've got to constantly ask ourselves, what's our reason to exist in today's market?
Yeah.
What is our unique selling point? Why have we got the right to exist? You talked about some of the businesses that disappeared off our high street.
Yeah.
And then you ask yourself, is that just bad management? Or was it just not a reason for them to exist anymore?
Yes.
That things have changed. Technology has come. The old internet didn't exist. The ability for people to buy on a click in their sitting room or watching Coronation Street, double screen, do their shopping. You have to have a reason to exist. And the thing I'll say to all my businesses that are really are heritage brands.
Yeah.
Robert Dyas, 150 years old, Ryman, 130 odd years old. You know, what is our reason? If the day we lose our reason to exist, we will have no right to be on the high street.
Yeah.
So it's our reason to exist starts there. And then when you look at what we buy and if we're just selling stuff, the same stuff, then
Yeah.
we're in trouble.
Yeah.
We have to have a unique selling proposition for the consumer to cross the threshold and come into our stores.
Yeah.
If we don't give them that, now we've been doing something interesting recently. Well, it's not recently, but things just take far too long in my world at the moment. Very frustrated. But we've really worked at clicks and bricks, but we're using technology not just to sell things. We're using technology to drive people back into store. A reason for them. So everything we do now with technology is not to be like everybody else. Because if I can sell something online, there's 1,000 million other people selling the same thing online. I'm just competing with the same thing, right? But if I can get somebody into my store,
Yeah.
with my great colleagues in the store, crossing that threshold, I've got an opportunity to sell them up, show them my wares. And even if they don't buy something or just do what they came in to do, don't buy anything else, they will see what else I've got.
Yeah.
So we're really concentrating and using technology to drive people back into
I
store.
was going to ask about the retail side of things, actually, the physical retail, because we were reporting on it this week of it, post-pandemic, I think we should all be apparently shopping online only now because during the pandemic, everybody thought that's it, the high street's over, everybody's going to shop online. But actually, weirdly, the opposite sort of happened.
Well, there's a great graph that's around. I can't remember where it's from. I saw it the other day, which shows the rise of online shopping, and it's like that's about like that.
Yeah.
And then we get the pandemic, and it goes up here, really like that.
Yeah.
Then it comes back here, and it's continuing on the same.
It's the same, yeah.
Right, so it's on the same
same
line.
Yeah, I know.
It's just you had that spike at the beginning. So it's still growing, and it's still having an effect on our physical retail.
Yeah.
But but the point with physical retail is the costs of doing business. Rates are horrendous, and if I keep banging on that rate store, one of us is going to die. Either race is going to die, or I'm going to die, because it's the most unfair tax ever. And that needs to be reformed. It needs to be reformed.
It's just one of those that I'm bored of writing about that now. Can they just sort it out? I don't understand why
the problem is it's such a big slug of the revenue that the exchequer gets. You have to replace it with something immediately. You can't
can't just give you guys relief and then not replace it with something. But
I sympathise with Rachel Reeves on that.
But it's not just her. It was a
previous chancellors.
Yeah.
God knows how many previous chancellors.
Yeah.
And we've had some really lazy chancellors. We've had the right useless chancellors that have been lazy and just decided to do nothing and ignore that the world is changing.
Yeah.
But not only are we hit with business rates that's unfair, I take you back to the fact that legitimate online businesses, and they're legitimate, and they've got every right to compete with us. And it's not, you can't say, oh, we're cancel the internet, right? It's what it is. There's legitimate online retailers out there that do a great job, but they don't pay their fair share.
No.
And that's not their fault.
No.
That is legislation needs to deal with it. And if we're short of cash in the treasury to pay for our doctors, our nurses, our social welfare that we need, then we need to for everybody to pay their fair share.
Yeah.
They need to pay their fair share, not just physical retail.
Yeah.
So that's another bone of contention that I have. We need to make sure that everybody can contribute. Otherwise, what's happened just now, national insurance has come in. So it's a huge cost to retail because we employ a lot of people, a lot of part-timers.
Yeah.
That's a massive, massive cost. Minimum wage has gone up. I can only pay for it through efficiencies, which can lead to job losses.
Yeah.
But the point is that I can't put my prices up. You must say, put your prices up, Theo. Everyone's going to have to put their prices up. But is everyone going to have to put their prices up? Not everybody's got the same cost pressures.
No.
If we just talked about our friends at Temu, they don't pay taxes, they don't pay VAT, they don't pay national insurance, they don't have to put their prices up. So why would I blame the consumer in shopping with somebody who's selling something cheaper than me? If it is a legitimate same thing, why would I blame the consumer in buying the something that's cheaper because somebody's paying less tax? It's up to the government
Yeah.
to legislate that we have a level playing field, so we're not in a position where people are selling products, because all that will happen is we will kill a high street, and our high streets have always been lifeblood of our communities. The minute we lose them, then we will be in trouble.
It will be tragic, won't it?
Back to legislation.
Yeah, exactly.
And an outdated tax system,
Yeah.
which our tax systems from the 1500s. It's ridiculous.
I know, it's like the ship tax and the window tax next or something, isn't it? It does feel a bit antiquated, to say the least. One of the happy things I've seen, though, coming out of some of the bigger businesses going bust on the high street is that some of the executives from those businesses, or designers, whoever they may be, department heads, have set up their own brands. And we've got a nice new wave of smaller, interesting brands, particularly in fashion, coming out, which they've taken the skills they'd learned from working for Philip Green or whoever it may be, and they're now doing it themselves
We've got some brilliant brands coming up all over the place, but we've got to give them oxygen to breathe.
Exactly.
We've got to give them exposure.
Yeah.
We've got to give them the ability to reach the consumer, to the consumer to know about them.
Yeah.
And it's expensive, right? But
It is.
that's something that
There's positivity.
we need to encourage across all aspects of small businesses.
What about you? And you've talked about why you support small businesses. You talked about the start of your career. I wonder if there was somebody who you most admired in the market, because I'm sure, given all the people we've got here today, you might be in their list of people they admire and they look up to. Was there somebody that inspired you?
I inspired me.
Or continues to inspire you?
Well, I think what continues to inspire me is when I see both those things, heritage brands that have reinvented themselves. I mean, it's a very difficult thing when it's a big juggernaut, there's a big oil tanker to move around, especially when you establish yourself in a different time and people know you for something else.
Yeah.
So some of those brands that have started growing, and we talked about, I mean, the old staples of the market, like Marks and Spencer's, like Next, who have really taken their businesses and looked at their consumer again.
Yeah.
I said, who is our consumer? Are they really just dying off? And who's going to be our consumer for the future? And of course, all the young brands that are coming up that are really working from back bedrooms, small workplaces, really informally, without too much regulatory issues bothering them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really exciting.
Yeah. It is. I bet there are some questions in the audience now. I feel
There's a guy in our
is there somebody
he's been waving at me. I thought maybe I know him or from
Let's
somewhere.
go over here then.
Yeah. He keeps waving. Yeah, and I thought I did catch him. I thought I'm not going to wait, but he's going to be first because he was so keen.
Please tell us who you are and ask your question.
My voice is quite loud. Is that on? That is on.
Oh, you carry on. Tell us who you are.
You have a bugbear.
No, who are you?
My name's Alex Price, and I make dog shampoo.
Right.
The best dog shampoo.
The best dog shampoo.
Alex Price makes the best dog shampoo.
Yeah.
I've just repeated that.
Thank you. We all here in this room have an issue with Timo. Yeah? You've explained that you do. You've explained about 7 things there that if any of us did, we'd be pulled out of business straight away. Why do they get away with it? How?
Right. Why do they get away with it? They are getting away with it at the moment because they are exploiting international sort of understanding and rules that allows small business individuals to go across borders and not get caught up with all sorts of regulatory issues. Small amounts. For us, it's 135 quid, where you can bring something in from abroad and not have to put customs forms in.
Yep.
But as a small business or as an individual, you don't want to be filling customs forms. In America, it's $650, which is a much bigger figure. Right. So these rules have existed for a long time. What they are now is being exploited as a loophole. So the legislation existed for those reasons I just explained. Some big companies from around the world, and mainly these two are in China, as the Donald would say, happen to be in China, are exploiting that. Now, that's people do. People find loopholes and exploit them all the time. It's up to governments to deal with it. I can tell you 2 things. The American government are dealing with it right now and are trying to pass legislation to shut this down. And I can tell you as a fact that the British government and the Treasury are definitely got them in sight and are looking how to plug that loophole for all the reasons that I said. Now, there's the Treasury issues of missing on taxation, and then there's the other safety issues that they need to be caught under as far as regulations are concerned. So it is being dealt with, but too slow for my liking.
Yes.
I was going to mention the other T word, which was Trump.
Thank you.
Good dog shampoo. There we go.
Do we need to be a bit more Trump-like in our approach to these things? I don't know. Maybe.
The Donald.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I've got to say,
Not a political question. More.
I've done the same thing I'm going to regret publicly. But he is there, right? He is the leader of the free world. And he is doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to work with him for the next 4 or 5 years, whether we like it or not. And maybe some of the shakeouts will be a reality check to us as well.
Exactly. I think I saw a hanger up over here, Felicity, the gentleman in the blue shirt. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, Theo. My name is Richard. I run a business called Immersify, which helps brands grow.
I never heard the name of the business.
Immersify?
Immersify.
Immersify. What does it do?
It helps brands grow on Amazon.
Right.
And so my question is, I've now, over last year, we've grown our team to about 20 people, and we've got a real opportunity in the team to develop our own brands and our own product ranges on Amazon, because we can see a lot of brands that are doing a poor job of Amazon, and we could probably do a better job by getting our own brands and bringing products in from China or wherever, or from the UK, and selling them on Amazon and doing a better job, because we know how to manipulate Amazon as a marketplace to sell better. So my question really is I need to focus to a certain extent on growing Immersify as the agency, but I've got these sort of shiny objects, this shiny object syndrome. Do I go ahead and start my own little brands within the team so that I can bring brands in and they can grow them? Or do I focus on getting Immersify to a much bigger business that makes me a lot more profit and stop that shiny object syndrome?
Okay, so I'm not going to be your mother, right? Let's be honest. So I know what your mum would say.
Yeah.
Your mum would just say, concentrate on what you do best. And I don't think that's always right. And lots of businesses, lots and lots and lots of businesses out there, international businesses, huge business. In fact, the business you just mentioned, Amazon. What did Amazon start doing? What were they selling? Books. Moved on to CDs. And look at them now. If they asked their mum and their mum said, Bezos, come here, stop messing around with all these other, stick to your books, you're doing really, really well with your books. I think the entrepreneurial spirit, the animal spirit is in us all. And you would be kicking yourself for the rest of your bloody life if you never gave it a go. Just work out the risk-reward ratio. Don't bet the farm. Be prepared to lose. Be prepared to lose a battle and win a war, right? So if it means you go into battle with your little products, your little shiny baubles, and it's an unmitigated bloody disaster, shut it quickly, lose the battle, don't lose the war by screwing up your other business. But and make sure that whatever it is that you're doing has got ownership by somebody, not as a side hustle. Needs ownership
Yeah.
if it's going to work. Yeah.
Great advice. Thank you. Please.
Hi, first of all, hello Theo. Thank you. Thanks for coming. It's lovely to meet you. I would tell you my name, but my question I think will explain why I can't tell you my name.
Oh.
Obviously, you was on a very, very well-known TV show, not so long ago. So yeah, this will make sense. But what advice would you give to someone that has been on that certain TV show and have done very well off the back of it? What advice would you give to somebody post that?
What advice would I give someone who's been on Dragon's Den? Is that the TV show you're talking about?
It may be.
Not a dirty word.
It's not a dirty word, but I may have signed some paperwork which may have said that I am bound to not disclose certain things. But there we go.
Have you been on the show already? Has it been broadcast?
No, that's it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely right. Don't spoil it for everybody. No spoilers in it.
20th of February. 20th of February.
So is it 20th of
20th.
Right,
Oh.
good. Very excited. I will tune in. So don't tell us whether you got investment or didn't get investment, and who buy and why, and who the Muppets are, and who the good ones are, and who your favourite one is, and who your favourite one isn't, and who was horrible to you. Don't tell us that. But now, with all that bluster, I'm going to ask you your question. Your question was, what advice would I give? Well, God gave you 2 ears, 1 mouth, and that's the ability to listen. You haven't won. If you've got an investment, it doesn't mean that you won a prize. None of those dragons are going to come and run your business for you. They only invested in you because they thought you, of no name, were worth investing in, right? And that you would drive your business, your idea, and they thought that there is a market there for that business and that idea, and that you could run that with the cash that they gave you and some advice and some guide rails. They're not going to go wake you up every morning with a phone call until you get out of bloody bed. They're not going to ring you up every day and find out how many people you've spoken to. They're not going to ring you every day and ask you how much money you've taken. They're not going to do any of that. They're going to guide you, point you in the right direction, give you advice, be there as a sounding board when you need them, and meet with you at various times. You have not won a prize. This is not the chase, right? This is not something you're going to go walk away with a bag full of cash and that's it. You have to make it happen. And for me, the most successful investments I've made has not been in the businesses, it's been in the people. And those people have created great businesses. Some have been absolute shit. And they're not in business anymore. And that is because they didn't run their business the way they needed to run their businesses. And some, the business I invested in, wasn't a success. But you know what? They've got up, dusted themselves down, and gone again with something else. And there's one specific one that has got a business now worth, actually valued at hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds.
Wow.
But that wasn't he or her first business, right? So give it your best shot. You don't always make it on the first business. Win the war, not the battle, right? Sometimes you've got to lose a battle here and there. So it's up to you what you do with that and how you leverage it. Nobody else. Those dragons are not going to make you successful. You are. with their guidance.
Thank you.
Very good.
Can I get a picture with you afterwards, if that's okay?
You can have a picture afterwards, yeah. Then you can tell me. Then you can tell me on the quiet what you did.
Yeah, exactly. I'll whisper.
I think you have time for one more.
One more. Oh, it's up here, Felicity. This one. Yeah. Are we going to get the stuff tour? Thank you so much for your guidance and everything that you just shared with us. I'm Mira with Crazily Creations, and we are a creative brand that's trying to figure out our way in the sea of retailers. So, how do we tell our story? How do we make sure that we be able to put across our identity without losing our own face? How would you recommend we go about that?
Okay, I'm not sure I understood the question.
So we have our own brands,
Your own brand.
creative and stuff, and we have that vision and a voice that we have. And how do we get the retailers to tell our story? To
It's never been easier. That when I started in that desk in that small office with just an assistant, and a phone, right? We couldn't afford marketing, couldn't afford reach, couldn't afford to say adverts out, couldn't afford to go on television. You now have self-generated content. Is such an unbelievable advantage for any small business now, and it's what you put into it, and it's something you can learn to do yourself. You don't have to pay consultants huge amount of money. You can learn to do lots and lots of that thing yourself, and that means getting your brand and name out there on those social media sites. So many success stories are out there that you can emulate. Just go for it.
very good. Listen, thank you very much for all of your questions, and I'm sure you're going to struggle to get away with all the selfie requests you're going to get, but we're not going to let you off the stage just yet because you've been nice about Spring Fair, and they wanted to say if you
We're going to elope.
you're going to elope with Spring Fair. I believe they wanted to say a few kind words about you. So before you leave, I'm going to invite Spring Fair to come on stage.
Hi, I'm Soraya Galarab, the event director of Spring Fair, and on Sunday we hosted our 75 Years of Excellence Awards here on the Inspiring Retail stage. And the most inspirational person in retail was won by none other than yourself, Theo.
Oh, there you go.
And I just happen to be here. Thank you very much. Wow, that's a big one.
Thank you
Excellent.
today and for supporting the show and the entire industry.
Absolutely pleasure. Thank you. I feel everyone's loving being here.
Indeed. Thank you.
Good.
Oh, look at that. Isn't that nice? Oh, thank you, Theo. Enjoyed it. Really nice.
Thank you, guys. Go for it. Right.
Yeah.
Good.